The goal of this channel is to provide mentoring for EHS and quality professionals. This video is specifically skewed to safety when I'm hiring for safety professionals to join my team. My name is Karl DeLooff, and I am a Director of Quality, Safety, Environment, and Sustainability for a large renewable energy company. The assumption here is you have already gotten past the resume stage, you've gone through HR, and now I'm going to be interviewing you either individually or as part of a team. As a safety professional, we basically have two goals. The first one is to protect the person, protect the individual. In the United States, we have to be very individual-centric, and this is one of our primary goals. We have to respect that individual person. The other thing is you have to protect the team. Now, the team is that crew, but it's also that job site, and it is also the company. And so you have two responsibilities at the same time. So what kind of person am I looking for? And so the kind of questions I'm going to be asking is going to be centered around answering these questions for me. Can you fit the team and the culture that we have within the company right now? Can you make a positive impact? I'm looking for people that are going to be additive and not somebody that's going to be difficult to manage or take things away. Can you meet the fall protection and fitness requirements? A lot of what we do is working at heights, and so there are some weight limits and some fitness limits to be able to climb the kind of ladders that we're dealing with and the heights that we're going to be working at. Can you keep yourself ready for the long term? Can you manage your health, your weight, your stress, so that you can be ready to go? Safety professionals have to be able to handle emergencies, so I need people that are robust and resilient. Leadership. Can you describe good leadership technique? Can you give me some of the principles of what good leadership should be about? Everybody says set the example. Great, perfect. Go beyond that. Give me something that I can sort of sink my teeth into. Humility. Can you be humble? Can you go to a job site and have a person doing a relatively simple task and put yourself in the role of being the mentee and the trainee and have them teach you what they know and to be the expert? Can you subsume your ego? Can you handle insults? People are going to try to provoke you on the job site. It's just the way it goes. You need to be able to let that slide off and to be able to keep them safe regardless of your emotional state at the time. Can you handle an emergency response? Something goes wrong. Can you keep a cool head and can you work the system even though there's a bunch of distractions and people really getting upset and stressed out and trying to get you stressed out? Injury management. Can you ensure good treatment for the person at the same time having good system discipline so that we are well protected as a company? Be able to do both. Health management. Can you be ready for virtually anything personally and then also look out for other people's health? And here we're going to be talking about exposures to chemicals. We're going to be talking about heat. We're going to be talking cold. We're going to be talking fatigue, all those types of things. Can you assist with being able to do that? And the other thing is that you have to be able to negotiate and sell. Great. Safety professionals, what are you selling? You're selling a person their own future. And this is going to be during some times where they do not want you involved. They're fully in the present. They do have no orientation to what is going to happen in the future. And particularly when you're talking to somebody in the 20s-something, trying to convince them, hey, you're not the crane. You need to watch out because when you get my age and you're trying to deal with your grandkids on the ground, that you can actually do that. You want to be able to sell that kind of future to them, and that's a difficult thing to be able to do. So I need people to be able to do that. Means and methods. So what am I going to be looking for? The kind of questions I'm going to be asking specifically. Sometimes this is called safety jeopardy, but I'm going to be asking a lot of questions to make certain that you have the technical acumen and you have good knowledge of what's going on. So know your regulations. The regulations from OSHA or CSA or Canadian OHS, Ministry of Labor, They're all written in blood. There's a reason why they're there, because people have gotten killed or hurt in the past. We don't want that to happen. But that is the minimum, that is the baseline. But if you do not know that minimum and that baseline, you are willfully ignorant. I really can't use you. My best suggestion as a safety professional, grab a copy of the 1910, the 1926. In Canada, a lot of the regulations are identical to that. They're online. Download it. I prefer to actually have a paper copy myself. Nice spiral so I can open it up. Make certain that you can actually know how to use that. You know what the basic sections are, particularly for what I'm doing. A lot of times it's 1926 or subpart CC. If you don't know what those are, time to look them up. You got to know safety management systems in general. What is ISO 45001? What is PSM? What is VPP? If you don't know, time to do a little bit of research. Do you have a system for how you conduct your personal business? So, taking pictures, where do they go? What kind of filing system do you use? How do you introduce yourself? How do you greet other people? How do you basically put on your boots type of thing? Do you have a system so that you can replicate that in good results on and on again? Every single entrepreneur talks about putting together systems for how they do things. You're going to be an entrepreneur within a large company. You need to be able to have decent systems. And if you need to alter them for the company, then you got a basis to already work on. It's not going to be brand new. Can you describe the JSA process, job safety analysis or job hazard analysis, sometimes a PTP, whatever the acronym is that you use? What is the process that you actually use to be able to do that? And can you teach that? And can you have a crew deal with that? And can you describe how that applies to an individual person? Do you understand physics, chemistry, and biology, particularly at the body level? Here I'm talking about all the classic stuff that we deal with, tools, materials, the chemicals, everything else. What does that actually mean? Can you actually do that yourself? Do you know basically how to use those tools? Can you describe a physical project that you completed using tools and maybe even some testing gear? Basic electrical theory, AC versus DC, low versus high voltage. Testing instruments. This could be non-contact, this could be hot sticks, this can be multimeters. If I give you a multimeter, can you actually demonstrate that you know how to use it? Can you do a live dead live check? What is a one-line diagram? Can you read it? Do you know what the basic symbols are? Can you describe to me what a EID is? What are grounds? What is a personal protective ground? Testing equipment, PPE. What do I expect to see if you're dealing with 8 calories of an arc flash? Can you describe what minimum approach distance is? How does a minimum approach distance relate to an arc flash? Hydraulics. Basic principles. Do you know a one-line diagram? Do you know what those symbols actually mean? What is an EID? What testing equipment would I expect to see a person working on hydraulics? What is a gauge? How do you relieve pressure? Mechanical. Gravity, rotation, tension, compression, locking. Line of fire, impact areas, all those types of things. And this gets into crane lifts, hoisting, and other things along that line. Lockout tagout for all the above, which is going to be hydraulics, it's going to be mechanical, it's going to be electrical, maybe even some other things, pneumatics, for example. Do you know the basic concepts behind lockout tagout? What is actual harmful energy isolation? How do you use a permit system? What kind of devices do I expect to see? What is a zone of protection? And how do you verify that a zone of protection is actually adequate? What are the different people that are involved in that? And if you're going to be working with me in high voltage, who's the lead? SDSs. Chemical safety, HAZCOM. Do you know what the basic terms are? Do you know what exposures are? What kind of PPE do you need for what kind of exposure? Can you teach safety? Uh, Being able to teach OSHA 30-hour, definite plus. You need to be able to go beyond the slide deck, though. The OSHA stuff is the absolute minimum. Can you make it specific to the individual? Can you take a look at a scope of work and say, hey, I need to really cover this a lot better? Can I do something that basically covers the industry a little bit better? So go beyond the basics. Fall protection. I expect my safety professionals to be able to work as a competent person for fall protection. What are the basic zones that you need to have? How do you inspect the equipment? What is a good tie-off point? What is not a good tie-off point? Excavation and trenching. Again, competent person. What are the soil types? What do we expect to see in a trench that goes 8 feet down? What kind of soil is it going to be going into, and how does that alter how you have that protection? Confined space, competent person. So what are the basic roles for that? How do I expect those people to be trained? What kind of equipment should I see out there? How do you test for an atmosphere? How do you test the equipment before you go in? Who is the attendant? Who is the entrant? Who is the rescuer? Who is the supervisor? How do those roles interact, and how do that relate? What kind of communications do I need? Can I do a rescue that is going to be non-entrant rescue? Investigative technique. I need to be able to describe how to perform an investigation. What kind of techniques are used? What is the anticipated outcome of that investigation? Interviews. How do you conduct an interview appropriately to be able to find out what happened? And to be able to do that without putting the person on the spot, and to be able to turn this into something that is about the system rather than the person. What kind of questions do you ask at what particular time? Then you get into root cause analysis. I want you to have at least knowledge of a couple different tools for root cause analysis. There's plenty of them out there. And you need to be able to articulate the solid results of that root cause analysis. How do you actually know that you got to a true root cause? You've got to be able to describe that to me. After you're all done, you need to be able to write an investigative report. Can you write compactly, and can you write well? My basic standard on this is that if a person not knowing the context, not knowing the company, would pick up that report 5 years from now, would they be able to understand what was going on at that time during that incident, and to be able to put that into their mind space and to be able to see it in their mind's eye? You also need to be able to help us out from a quality perspective. Do you know what sloppy work looks like? Do you know what substandard quality looks like? This is really important from a safety perspective too. In my experience, nearly half of all the lost time injuries that I've registered in 30 plus years has been the result of rework. So being able to detect that, to be able to help out the quality people as well, is a very important thing. Do you know how to respond to common spills and releases? And this is particularly for hydraulic fluid, overfills of gasoline, and the diesel. Can you describe how to do that, how to start an initial spill investigation, that type of thing, until the environmental people can take over? Or if you need to follow it all the way through, know how to do that. You need to be able to discuss basic SWIP and NDPES permits, inspections. What do those look like? What does that cover? And then to be able to do all this with high stress, because you're going to have deadlines. Every single construction project, every single O&M is going to have deadlines, whether the deadline is external, and this is something dealing with the ISO, the independent service operator going onto the electrical grid. We have a contract deadline, or a person has to get to their child's softball game that afternoon. You have to be able to handle that kind of stress and deadlines, and to be able to assist those people into focusing to be able to meet those deadlines with still being safe. Very difficult task, because it's part of what you need to be able to do to lead. Other things that may be high stress, OSHA comes on site. How do you handle it? Do you know companies' rights from OSHA's perspective and from the legal system's perspective? Fourth Amendment, for example. If you've had experience with OSHA and you had an inspection that came on, how was that handled? Did you actually have something that was a program inspection? Did you have a random? Did you have something that was focus 4? Why in the world were they there? Did you have that opening meeting? And then also investigations. Same thing happens. You have some type of an accident that comes on site. OSHA's going to show up there. How do you handle that? Can you keep your head cool? Can you follow the procedures? And can you help protect the company? Because you're probably not going to be able to get an attorney out there. And so tag, you're going to be it. You need to be able to handle that. So all said, I'm looking for you to be a good teammate. You're going to have pluses, you're going to have minuses, you're going to have strengths, you're going to have weaknesses. I need to be able to see that as an individual. We may pair you with somebody else that has complementary strengths and weaknesses. The other thing is that you're going to come to the job site and you're going to be relating to people, and your background off the job site is going to be really important for that. So there's a lot of recreational activities out there. If you've done tractor pulls, great. Can you ride a horse? Perfect. Can you throw a tantrum on a wakeboard? Great. Do you go hunting? All those types of recreational things that you would expect to see in the sort of a blue collar environment, being able to relate to those people is going to be a very important thing. You need to be able to talk to them, to build a relationship, to be able to put them at ease. This is one of the primary ways that we deal with people so that we can build that relationship necessary to protect them. Because as I said before, you're talking about sales here, you're talking about negotiations. If you can't build the rapport with people and you're going to be standoffish, it's going to be very, very difficult to do the job well. So, welcome aboard. Hopefully you can see this and you can come up with a way to be able to get ready for the interview, and we can figure out how to work together very well, and we can be part of the same team. Thank you, and stay safe.